Hey there, I'm James, and in this video I'll take a look at the interim trade deal between India and Australia. Just before I do, make sure to subscribe to the channel so that you can stay across the latest from the world of business and finance. Okay, India and Australia are on the verge of finalising an interim free trade deal on goods and services. It's anticipated the deal will be completed by the end of the month. Last year in October, both nations set the ambitious target of finalising the interim trade deal by December, and concluding discussions on a comprehensive economic cooperation agreement, or CECA, by the end of this year. However, these nations have been changing economic interests as global events hampered existing trade channels. Meanwhile, India and Australia have seen worsening political ties with China for the past few months. So the trade deal aligns their interests in more ways than just establishing a trade route. The deal has been a long time in the making, with provisional negotiations having begun back in 2011. In times gone by, most of Australia's exports would filter through China before being pushed onwards to India, but this new deal should help expedite the process and create a direct trade line, thus reducing the reliance on China for both countries. There are a number of key takeaways from the deal. First and foremost, it will create a new market for Australian wine. Before tensions escalated between Australia and China, the latter was the largest market for Aussie wines. However, Australian wine exports to China have since suffered as China imposed heavy tariffs on the products. Under the new trade deal, India is expected to slash its import duties on wine, allowing Aussie winemakers to access an equally large market for the product. Understanding India's stance on Russia. As both countries come together to sign the deal, the difference in their approach towards Russia has become more apparent. India has decided to take a neutral stance in the Russia-Ukraine war, whilst Australia has imposed heavy sanctions on Russia. However, with the trade agreement in the backdrop, Australia respects the approach taken by India. Indian government wary of agricultural imports. The Indian government has taken a rather conservative approach towards agricultural imports from Australia. While the country is an importer of Australian chickpeas and lentils, it typically does not allow the importation of grains, fruits and vegetables. The Indian government has expressed concerns over the sensitive sector being affected by the influx of imports and believes these commodities should be left out of the present deal. 280 million Aussie dollars pledged by Australia. The Morrison government will be announcing an investment package of 280 million Aussie dollars to boost economic ties with India. The sum is set to be utilised for cooperation in developing clean technology, the processing of critical minerals, and to enhance relations in the space sector. Boosting Australian lithium imports. The economic partnership is set to provide a market for Australian lithium exports. Under India's recent goal of shifting away from fossil fuels, greater attention is likely to be paid to electric vehicles. Interestingly, Australia is home to some of the biggest lithium reserves in the world, which is an essential element used in electric car batteries. Thus, the partnership could provide Australia with a steady market for its lithium exporting. Easing Australian migration policies. The trade deal also benefits Indians wishing to study abroad in Australia. The strict migration policies in Canberra have been a cause of concern for many Indians who intend to find employment in Australia. Under the new deal, India wants part of this pressure to be lifted from Indian students and skilled professionals who wish to immigrate. Developing better e-commerce channels. Australia wants to develop efficient e-commerce trade channels in India for its premium food, beverage and consumer product providers. The online channels would allow for better access to the Indian markets and easier information about which goods are being transported. However, the move has been put on hold as Australia is waiting for India to finalise its e-commerce policy before anything occurs. And finally, it will help to build long-lasting, strong foundations between the two countries. India and Australia have a long history of political and economic support. While the current trade deal will formalise the economic relationship between the two, they already have a landmark deal for reciprocal access to their military bases for logistics support. Under the Mutual Logistics Support Agreement, or the MLSA, the two countries' militaries can use each other's bases, thus helping to provide further security for both nations in the event of more widespread conflict. So, there you have it. There's a lot to digest, but those are the key takeaways from this landmark deal, and it will be interesting to watch how the partnership between these two great nations continues to unfold and flourish into the future. If you enjoyed this video, then please make sure to like, share, comment and subscribe, and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay across the latest videos from Kalkine. For more information, just head across to the website, kalkinemedia.com. I'm James Preston, reporting for Kalkine.